Hey, what's up? What's going on? It's your girl, Mary Jane. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please like the video. Please share the video. It'd be greatly appreciated from the bottom of my heart. My peeps, my peoples. So, we are going to be talking about Fatal Vows. Basically, it's a TV show, crime TV show that comes on the ID channel, and I'm glad it's back out. Thank goodness. And we are going to be talking about Fatal Vows, Season 5, Episode 1. Basically, the story takes place in Danville, Virginia. Okay, so the story takes place in Danville, Virginia. There's this wonderful guy. His name is Julian. He has 3 kids. He has 2 daughters. He has 1 daughter and 2 sons. His daughter name is Catherine. One name is CJ, and the other one name is James. James is their oldest son. And then Catherine is the next in line, and then it's CJ, he's the youngest. And so basically, Julian and his children have been suffering with the illness of which is their mother. She has been ill their whole life. She has, her name is Joyce. She has chronic pancreatic cancer, I believe. And so she's been sick their whole life since these kids were born. She's been sick, and they've been suffering through the diminishing of their mother, basically. So has Julian, watching his wife disintegrate right before his eyes. And Julian really depended on his wife. His wife was everything. She was the mother of his children. He worshipped the ground that she walked on, and they had a wonderful relationship. His identity was basically his wife's identity. You know, when they say you get married, you become one, they really were one. But R.I.P. Joyce, she has passed away. She has died. And, one of the sons, Jason, he signs up in the military, and he goes away. And his oldest daughter, his only daughter, Catherine, she sticks around, and she becomes a caretaker to her father, Julian. And so does CJ. He sticks around, and they all still live in the same house. Basically, they're pulling together throughout this tragic situation. And so Catherine has dedicated her life to taking care of her father and helping her father get through his, grieving process, as well as she's grieving as well also. So Julian, he is a mechanic, and he's a damn good mechanic, and he's like the best in town and everything like that. And he meets this young lady, which is, I believe, 18 years his junior, and she also works at the company as well. And she is she's interested in Julian. She's attracted to Julian. She likes Julian, and she knows that he has money too as well, and he just lost his wife. So he's basically in the grieving process of his life. And she comes along, and she brings him happiness. She brings him joy. They go out, they dance, they have a good time. And he's courting Teresa. Her name is Teresa. His new co-worker, the woman that he's dating now, is Teresa. And he kind of want to keep it a secret. He doesn't want anybody to really know that he is dating Teresa, because it's kind of like very soon after his wife passed away. I believe it has been 2 months since his wife passed away, and he starts to date, Teresa. And him and Teresa are getting along, and they're having a wonderful time together and everything. So everything's great. And there's another thing I do like about this show, is because you have 2 doctors come on, and they analyze the behaviors of the people that are in the crime TV show. You have Dr. Brian Russell. He's a forensics psychologist, and he's also a attorney. Then you have Stacy Kinzer. She is a psychotherapist. So then, 2 months after his wife dies, Julian is dating Teresa, and she moves in on June 2000. She moves into the house in June 2000, and when Julian's daughter, she remembers this, because the day that Teresa moved into their home, it was June 14th, which is Catherine mother's birthday. And Catherine wanted to tell her father, hey, I don't appreciate this, this is not a good idea. But Catherine couldn't talk, because she just had surgery, and she's not able to use her lungs at all or anything like that. So the only thing she could do is write a note and things like that. But the father, he's totally in love, he's totally enamored by Teresa, but not realizing that he is still going through the grieving process and not facing going through the grieving process. Sometimes you latch on to things or individuals where can take you away from that process, and you can focus your attention on something else that doesn't have to deal with you dealing with your real feelings of the loss of your loved one. And so it is what it is. And so once Teresa moves into the house, she goes to Catherine, I'm going to be your new mom. Say, call me mom, And, Catherine is like, you're only 3 years older than me, So it's like, wow. Then on top of that, this woman is really young, and she's only 3 years older than his daughter. I know sometimes it does work out having people dating their juniors or their seniors. It does work out, but in some cases it does not work out. And some cases, basically, people are opportunists. And this is what the situation is. And it's sad because Catherine is going to experience a lot of tragic in her life. And she already has. So... and then Teresa, she's divorced. She was married when she was 16 years old. She got divorced. She has a 12-year-old daughter. She has a 14-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son. And she doesn't have full custody of her children because the children are with their father, and he has full custody, and she has visitation rights. So, just food for thought. If, Julian, he's been with his wife, all his life, and they raise kids together, so he knows what a mother is. He knows what a endearing mother is, So this new woman that he's with, she doesn't have her children, and it's really like, especially, it's really like for a judge not to rule in the favor of a woman is like really unheard of, unless the judge is being paid off or anything like that. So for this woman not to have custody of her children, it really says a lot about her that the father has full custody of the children, unless there was some finance going on, or he's more financially stable than her. But it's actually something to look into, like, why does not she have her children? She's gainfully employed, and she's well, she's healthy, so why does she only have visitation rights? So that's something to look into if you are dating someone and they don't have custody of their children and they only have visitation rights. It's something to investigate before you fall deeply in love with someone, So anyways, so moving forward, Teresa, she goes to church. She loves church. She brings her husband. Now, her and Julian got married within like months, maybe 6 months after meeting her, maybe less than a year after meeting her. Julian proposed to Teresa. They got married. Julian showers Teresa with tons of gifts, tons of anything that she wants, anything that she likes, and she's also she doesn't have to work because Julian is a really good mechanic, and he's the highest paid in the town that they are from, in Dansville, Virginia. And so she doesn't have to work, so she caters her time to Julian, and she takes care of Julian. And also Teresa kids are starting to come home to her house, which she shares with Julian and his daughter Catherine and his son CJ. And so basically the house gets really small now, and Teresa's daughter is very rude and very disrespectful towards Catherine. So once Catherine says something to Teresa's daughter being rude, Teresa snaps at Catherine, and so does her father Julian snaps at his daughter Teresa. So Teresa's feeling like this is an overwhelming situation. It's very stressful, and basically she's made out to be the bad guy, and she doesn't want that anymore. So she moves out, and she moves in with her boyfriend at the time, Larry, and then she ends up marrying Larry, and they end up and they're still together now, which is wonderful. And so Julian and Teresa, they go to church a lot and everything like that. But, Teresa is so close to this guy named Robert. He's the deacon at the church that they go to. And they have a really, really tight relationship and a tight bond where they're spending a lot of time together. And she's always with him because her husband is busy, making a salary to pay the bills and take care of her and lavish her in jewelries and gifts and flowers and everything that she likes. And so It is what it is. So, Catherine moves out, CJ stays there. And, so it is what it is. It's just like, okay. So then Teresa, she quits her job, and she's spending to choose so much time with this guy named Robert, which is the deacon of the church. And Julian is feeling like, okay, there's something else that's going on, and everybody else in the community is feeling like they have something else going on, that they're having some type of relationship, whether that is not on the up and up with married people and people of religious background. So it's like, Teresa just feels like, Teresa is carrying on this holy and thou attitude, and she was raised in the church, born in the church, and she's staying in the church. And she's staying in the church next to Robert, Deacon Robert. Deacon is getting some of that. He's dipping that deacon in Teresa. In my opinion, has not been found true. They didn't say it was true on the show, but they allege that and assume that, but it has not been proven. So after that, 9/11 happens, and CJ felt like it was his duty to go to the military, so he shipped off. He goes to the military. Also, Julian, he has served in the military as well, which is the father. So it is what it is. So then after that, Catherine is just like, okay, she's kind of like distancing herself from her father, because he's basically taken on this whole new family, this whole new life. And Catherine is not a part of it because she's not friendly or has this friendship with Teresa. So it is what it is. So now Jason, which is their oldest son, he is driving, and he's driving somewhere, and he ends up getting into a fatal accident, and he's deceased. But before then, he comes home to visit his father, surprise visit to his father and everything. And his father's happy to see him. And so the father is busy working. He's working 24/7, 7 days a week. He's working a lot. So the son is there basically with Teresa a lot of the times. And Teresa comes on to Jason and asks Jason, hey, we can do whatever you want. We can do this thing. We can do this nasty. We can hang out. So soon as that happens, Jason calls his sister Catherine to let her know that you won't believe what this woman, Teresa, did. She's tried to come on to me. She's trying to have sex with me. And so Jason tells Teresa that he doesn't believe in anything like that, that's not something that him and his family does. And he doesn't know where Teresa comes from and how she lives and how she does her thing, but that's not how they get down. That's not how they do. So right after that conversation, Jason leaves, and he is hit by a truck. He's in an accident and he dies. So he's not able to tell his father Julian that this woman Teresa has came on to him and tried to sleep with him while his father was gone. So when Jason dies, there's some insurance money. It's like about $200,000, and the $200,000 that Jason's father Julian receives, what he does is he goes out and he buys 5 acres of land, a big house with 3 bedrooms, and it's pretty huge. It's pretty big. So Teresa gets the idea, oh my goodness, if someone dies, you get insurance money. So this is in the back of her head, like, wow, we're really living wealthy. We're really living good because of this insurance money. But not to mention that she's not feeling sorry for Jason being deceased. She's not feeling sorry for her husband losing his son and his wife within less than a year or two. So then moving forward in that situation, so it's sad. And so now Teresa, her mom gets sick, and the mom is very sick. Teresa's mom is very sick, and she has a stroke, and she's spending 24 hours basically at the hospital. And Julian goes there to visit and try to support, but it's basically too much for him to deal with, because he just got through dealing with his sick wife dying of pancreas cancer, and then on top of that, his son being killed in an accident. He just can't endure any more of heartache, and he wants his wife home to be nurturing to him. So which the counselors on the show says that this is where you see where Julian has not totally healed from his wife dying, and he has not totally moved on from it, and he still have a lot of healing process to go on. He still has a lot of healing to do, but basically not to focus on the healing process, he rushed and got married with Teresa. And so now, Jason is Julian's realizing that he actually kind of made a bad decision, and he shouldn't have married Teresa, and it was a bad idea. It was a bad mistake. So Julian actually goes to meet up with his daughter Catherine. Catherine's like, damn Dad, you look like hell. He was like, yeah, I know. He was like, everything with Teresa is not going good. I really want to get a divorce from her, but I'm scared that she's going to drain all my money and take all my money away. And so he's worried about that. So Catherine is like, I'm going to support you, I'm going to be there for you, so don't worry about it. I got you. And so Julian, he goes home, he's taking care of his business, he's doing everything that he possibly can, but now he realized that this is not the loving relationship that he thought it was. He's not in love with her, and he doesn't want to be with Teresa anymore. So it's like a bad situation. And so then moving on from that, so then CJ, his son, he's being deployed, but he gets a layover, he gets a break, so he shows up to visit his father, unannounced, surprisingly, to visit his father, see how his father's doing. And this is on October 31st, and so he shows up, and he's there to visit his father and everything, and it's wonderful. And they're having a little small reunion, but it doesn't really last that long. It's really not that big of a reunion because Julian, he has to work and all that good stuff. So then before you know it, everyone's in the house sleeping, and then someone comes into the house and they shoot Julian multiple times, and then they shoot his son CJ multiple times, and CJ is killed instantly at the scene. He's shot in the chest, which is a fatal wound to his vital organs, and he's dead on the scene, and there's no shell casings. And so then we get to Julian's bedroom. Julian, the father, is shot multiple times as well, but there is shell casing, and he's still alive, and he's able to say, my wife knows who shot me, my wife knows who shot me, my wife knows who shot me. And he's saying that over and over because Teresa at this time, she's in the bathroom and she's dialing 911, and she's letting the police know that someone broke into the house, and there's been tons and tons of gunfire, and she doesn't know what's going on or what's happening. So she's the only living witness to this case. So the detective, questioned Teresa and asked Teresa, what's going on? Did you hear anything? Did you see anything? Why is your husband saying that my wife knows who shot me? And so Teresa goes, I have no idea. My husband had woke up in the middle of the night, and he told me he heard something. He told me to go in the bathroom and hide. So I went in the bathroom and I waited for about 30 minutes, and then that's when I called the police, and that's when I left the bathroom and I noticed my husband was wounded, basically. And so the police are not stiff, so they searched the house, and they realized the house has not been broken into. Their wallets are still there. $300 is missing, and basically Teresa, she splits the money with the killers because Teresa is involved in this. So Teresa, she meets a guy named Rodney Fuller, and she meets a guy named Matthew Cinnabaker or Matthew Schellenberg, and she meets these two guys at a store. Rodney's 19, Matthew's 21, and she has a conversation with them. They start to talk, and she ends up having a sexual relationship with Rodney Fuller. And then Rodney Fuller, she moves on from Rodney Fuller to his best friend Matthew. And so she's dating Matthew, and she's having sex with Matthew, and she's telling both of these guys that her husband Julian is beating her, and he's he's torturing her, and he's tearing her apart. And what can they do to help her? Because she doesn't want to go through this abuse anymore. So in the meantime, and between time, Teresa also hooks her daughter, now age 16, up with Rodney. So Rodney is with her daughter, having sex with the daughter, and she's having sex with Matt. Basically, she's grooming these two young guys to kill her husband. And she loves attention, and she loves all this attention that she's getting from these young guys. And so she convinced these young guys to take advantage of the situation and kill her husband. But since the son CJ had came home, it was only supposed to be one person killed, which was going to be Julian. But since CJ came home, surprisingly, they had to, their plans were foiled. They had to come up with new plans. And so now Rodney had to get involved because Matthew was going to be the only shooter. So then they shoot both of these. So both of these guys, there's no break in or anything. The door is unlocked. There's no scuff marking on the door. There's no windows open. And so she used these two guys, lured them with sex. She manipulated them, and she had them kill her husband. She gave them $1,200 at first to go buy the shotguns, to go buy the bullets, and all that other good stuff. And then on top of that, I guess she was going to split the insurance money with them or whatever. And so now Teresa basically tells the cops that once Teresa has a lie detector test, she fails the lie detector test. The detective tells her that she failed. And so then she finally gives in and she goes, I know one person that wanted my husband Julian dead, which was this young dude named Matthew. And he has a friend named Rodney. So she takes him to their house. And basically she snitches on them to try to get out the situation. So it's a terrible, terrible thing. I mean, this woman was vicious. She was evil. She was low down. She was dirty. She was a scutter bucket. She manipulated people. She used people. She hid behind the name of God, like she was this church woman, like she was this loving woman, like she was this good person, but she wasn't. She was a scheming thief, con artist. On top of that, she was an unfit mother because that's why she didn't have custody of her children. Then now you can also see why she didn't have custody is because she's having her 16-year-old daughter sleep with this 19-year-old guy because she's trying to groom these guys to kill her husband. And on top of that, she knows what her husband's been through, what his son's been through, and then plus the daughter, Catherine. Now Catherine has lost her mother, she lost her father, and she lost her brother to murder and one through an accident. And so this lady is low down dirty. So you know what, if you're going through a grieving process, take time before you rush out into a relationship and get with somebody. Take your time, deal with the pain and the feeling of emptiness and loss first before you try to love someone, even though that person can make you feel good, that person can make you feel better, and can take your mind off of the situation. But don't depend on that. Try to deal with you as a human being, deal with your pain before you run off and get with somebody, because you can be ultimately sleeping with the devil, sleeping with the enemy, sleeping with a low down, dirty, no good, rotten, chastity, hood, gutter, disgusting, despicable person that would take your life for $400,000, and it's just awful. It's just low down. It's just dirty. And then she manipulated these two young boys, even though they got their mind of their own, but she used sex to get these young kids to do what she wanted them to do, because she's mature, because she knows what a man wants. She knows how to get on that thing and ride it. She knows how to lick, suck, fuck, all that good stuff she knows how to do. So she used them skills to manipulate these two young boys that probably didn't have guidance or anybody in their life to support them, to let them know that, okay, this is just a one night stand with this type of woman. You don't get into a relationship. Anybody that comes to you and say, hey, my boyfriend or my girlfriend are beating me up, or they're kicking on me, or they're abusing me, and they're hurting me, you know what? Okay, you say to that person, let's leave, let's go, let's make reports, let's go to the cops, let's drop everything that you have. If this is so important, let's do something about it. But not when they say, okay, no, I want you to get a gun and I want you to shoot him and I want to give you money. Come on, no, that's, what, if you live in that type of fear and you're that scared, you need to kill them yourself, basically. And that's not going to happen because they know that they're wrong from doing it. So they want to keep their hands clean, and this is what she tried to do, is keep her hands clean. But ultimately at the end, what did she do? She told the cops that it was Matthew. See, when you do things like this, you get into situations like this with people, the first thing they're going to dime on is you. They're going to snitch, they're going to tell on you, and they're going to put you behind bars and hoping that you're still crazy, you're still delusional, and you won't dime on them. So don't get yourself caught up in a situation like that. Run. When somebody telling you this person's doing this person's doing that, or say, hey, these are the steps. Get online, Google, find out what you can do to get out the situation, how you can protect that person, or where they can go. But don't you take it into your hands and try to kill somebody because you you heard it's hearsay. It's not factual. You don't know this, and this happens over and over and over, where either an older man or an older woman will get somebody and try to convince them to do something that they don't want to do because of something in their life. Or we can be together if this person's gone, or we can be together if this person's gone, and want to give you money. If a person is willing to kill somebody and do that type of dirty shit and then bring you into the situation, you need to run, because that person's no good. And then, but you know what? So Matthew and Rodney are charged with capital murder. They get life in prison. Teresa, she's actually charged with capital murder, and she's sentenced to death by lethal injection. And she's actually sentenced to death September 23rd, 2010. And she's the first woman in Virginia that has been sentenced to death since 98 years. So you know what, there was so many people in this town that realized that she was a scutterbucket. She was dirty, she was low down, she was greasy, she was a money hungry, low down, trifling, evil individual that didn't even have a heartbeat and shouldn't have been beaten. And so the court system decided to put her to death. And it didn't take that long. And I'm not a person that's into, the death penalty, because there have been a lot of innocent people killed that didn't commit the crime. But this is another cautionary tale. Be careful of who you get with, and make sure you're mentally and emotionally stable, and you have enough experience of enough knowledge to search online, to search different things, to find out, okay, this is a good situation for me, or is this a bad situation for me? Because there is a lot of low down, dirty people here just waiting to get their hands on someone that's pure, innocent, and loving, and just looking for love. And you can be taken advantage of easily. And they wouldn't give two shits, because this lady Teresa did not give two shits. And poor Catherine lost her whole family. Her mother died of cancer. One brother, Jason, she lost him in an accident. And then her father was murdered. And then her brother was murdered on the same day. And, her father and the son, CJ, they both had their funeral together. But imagine what Catherine is going through. Imagine that, My heart goes out to you, Catherine. You're a strong individual, and you're very strong for getting on this show, telling your story. But you know what? People out there, if you know that someone's taking advantage of someone that you love, and you have proof, you have evidence, do everything that you can to try to discourage that person, or try to lead them to the light, Anyways, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It'll be greatly appreciated from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.